Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love so we can release that which we no longer need. Diving deep, deep into the source, bringing love so we can release that which we no longer need.
Aloha. Good evening. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona with Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio and free conference call and YouTube, establishing and maintaining relationships and human values. Aloha, welcome to tonight's Intimacy, Tantra, and Relationship Psychically for Folk Show. Tonight, We're tonight's episode is called "Why Suicide?" Anthony Bourdain, and we're going to talk about not just pertaining suicide pertaining to Anthony Bourdain, but to all celebrities and people in general. So it's not just going to be referring to, but we are going to focus on Anthony Bourdain as an example of what's happening with this stuff. Andrew Aloha, myself, and I, and co-host Maha Dakini Lorae, and tonight we have a special guest, Penny Cohen, all the way out of New York. Is that correct, Penny?
Yes, it is.
And thank you for being here. And then we have co-host Maha Dakini Lorae, all the way out of San Francisco. Aloha, Lorae.
Aloha, Andrew.
Thank you for being here. And this online Tantra session is filled with spice nights and everything, right? Aloha is a Tantra practitioner for several years, while Maha Dakini Lorae is out of San Francisco, is a sacred sexuality educator, certified Tantra counselor, and Tantra healer. And special guest Penny Cohen is a LCSW. Is that licensed social work? Is that what we're talking about?
Licensed clinical social worker, yes.
Oh, licensed clinical social worker. Is leading. What's that?
LCSW.
Yes.
Licensed clinical social worker.
Got it. She's a leading edge, groundbreaking licensed transformational psychotherapist, a certified hypnotherapist, EMDR, energy psychology, and a Mago relationship practitioner or relationship expert and a spiritual life coach. She teaches personal Kabbalah based on her book, Personal Kabbalah, 32 Paths to Inner and Life Purpose. And for more information on Penny, you can go to www.pennycohen.com, PennyCohen.com, and talk to her more about that. And we're going to come back and talk to her. We're going to talk to, hey, what's wrong with my website page? It's screwed up. But anyhow, we're going to talk to also Maha Dakini Lorae and then about suicide and what all these factors concerning suicide. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and give a big aloha to all of our underwriters, beginning with the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself, your emotions, and feelings in your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul-centered process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with the endeavors and never look back if you dare. And for those of you that are interested, again, I wrote the book version of this. This is actually a mentoring program that I do. And if you want to read the book first, you can go to spiritualnessproduction.com. There's a couple of links there to a page. You can get this on Kindle. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle for 99 cents and check it out. And if you really like it and you feel if you want to do more, you get a hold of me and we'll give the mentoring program. And then we also have Anovite.com, Anovite, a French word, ANOVITE, at www.spiritualnessproductions.anovite.com, with over 25,000 scientific papers published on colostrum, a 90-day guarantee, and winner of the Healthy Living People's Choice Award twice over. Anovite focuses on helping people with weight loss, anti-aging, heart disease, diabetes, depression, high blood pressure, asthma, allergies, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammation, gout, lupus, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, cancer, ulcers, the polio virus, chronic infection, digestive disorders, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmune disease, thymus gland, mental clarity, maintenance and protection of the immune system, synthesis and repair of the RNA and DNA, much, much more. We also have Maha Dakini Lorae at www.mahadakini.com. Maha Dakini Lorae has been in life. Maha Dakini Lorae's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified Tantra counselor and Tantra healer and a certified mind-bound teacher. Maha Dakini Lorae is also a graduate of Marvel non-zero-long guidance Tantra facilitator training program, as well as a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselor, and Therapists Club, and a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And finally, we do have the 2018 MUFON Symposium at www.mufonsymposium.com. MUFON is the oldest and largest civilian UFO investigative organization in the U.S. with over 4,000 members worldwide and in 43 countries in all 50 states. MUFON has also has over 500 certified field investigators deployed worldwide, including myself. This year's 2018 MUFON Symposium will be held at the Crown Plaza in Cherryville, New Jersey, from the 27th through the 29th of July, with its theme being UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the future of humanity. Various speakers from all over the world, country will be, actually, I think all over the world, will be presenting, including Peter Robbins, Dr. Don C. Don Derry, and Randall Nickerson. Register now for the symposium website at the symposium website. We'll see you there. And if you happen to see me there and notice that I'm there, come up to me and give me a big high five, all those highs, and let me know that you're there, and just hang out and at least say hi. You know, we're back to why suicide, Anthony Bourdain? Why suicide, Anthony Bourdain? What's wrong with you? What the heck? What's going on? What's going on here now? Penny, you're our expert. What's going on? What's going on with Anthony Bourdain?
I don't have a clue.
You don't have a clue? What about you, Lorae, Maha Dakini Lorae?
Well, one, I'm kind of offended by your late about the questioning. I think this is a serious subject, and my take is we don't know. We're not empaths. We're not mind readers. How can a person look into the psyche and the mind and the energy of someone who chooses to take their own life? And we're looking at him as a celebrity. We only see an external. Everybody who's in the public eye, or even if you're even in private, there's families whose children or parents or cousins or grandparents or whatever may have chosen to lead this way, and it's a surprise. No one's seen it coming, so we haven't been able to figure it out. And I was when before the show started, Penny and I were talking, and the statistics is that there's an increase in the last several years of like 30% of people attempting or being successful at suiciding themselves. And there's been 45,000 people.
Maha Dakini Lorae, I want to correct you there. The increase has been more than 30%, not necessarily 30% of the people in the United States, but the increase over the last 2 decades has been over 30.
About 30%. Right.
From
nearly 45,000 people
45,000
have died this way. Right. So that's alarming. I mean, it's really mind-boggling that we have this health crisis going on and it's not being addressed. And there's so many factors that, and today we're talking about these, as to why is this happening? And we can talk a little bit about that. I think I heard Penny wanted to say something.
I'd also like to add to those statistics, Lorae, in that it's the second leading cause of people between the ages of 15 to 24 years old. And baby boomers are also vulnerable. And that's really scary to me.
So
yes, I think.
I hear what you're saying, and it is a large amount of people. And in fact, here in Flagstaff, that suicide rate is even higher with the Native American people. In fact, every year they do a whole conference around that. But I do got to say that that's not even being 1% of the populace in the United States. But it is still a large quantity of people that are committing suicide for various rates. Now, this is what I want to do. and it's not because I'm an empath or psychic or anything else I'm able to come across this information, because literally I went on the internet and I just browsed around and looked at the different just researched it, and it was just a matter of research. And I want to read to you this article. Let me see, and that will kick us off in terms of what needs to be understood about suicide, not only with Anthony Bourdain, but in general. Let me see. Hang on a second. I had an article here, and again, I just went on the internet and researched all this.
It's because I sent you a bunch of articles, and it's the topic of the week.
Not only the articles that you sent me, but other articles, because I went and did my own research.
Oh, sure.
This article is called "How to Spot the Warning Signs of Suicide." The signs vary from person to person, but recognizing a drastic change in behavior is key. Chef and travel host Anthony Bourdain was found dead of an apparent suicide this morning, and this was back a couple of weeks ago. Of course, the 61-year-old was working, and this is also after the Spade. What's her name? What's her first name? Kate Spade was also. Yeah, she killed herself as well right before this as well. The 61-year-old was working on a new episode of his CNN show Parts Unknown in Strasbourg, France. The New York Times reported this tragic news comes just days after fashion designer Kate Spade died by suicide as well. Bourdain and Spade's untimely deaths are part of a troubling trend, a sharp rise in suicides among both men and women across all racial and ethnic groups and all ages, according to a report released yesterday by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Suicide rate increased nearly 30% between 1999 and 2016. Again, this suicide is not prejudice. It doesn't hold grudges in any way. It could be anybody. It could be anybody. Understanding how to help someone who may be at risk for suicide is crucial towards reversing this trend. Here's how you need to know. Here's what you need to know. How to spot the warning signs of suicide. Warning signs of suicide can vary from person to person. Some may outwardly talk about thoughts of suicide or wishing they were dead, while others may keep their intentions secret. Look for changes in pattern, says Christine Mokier, doctor, chief medical doctor officer at the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. People can only keep things hidden to a certain extent. If you think about it, our behavior patterns are in a pretty tight and narrow range. Your radar will go up if someone is acting differently because you know their patterns. It could be that they stay fully engaged, but they're more easily aggravated, angered, lose their temper, or start drinking more. That's what some people do when they become depressed and suicidal, she explains. Look for these common warning signs of suicidal thoughts: talking about suicide, hurting themselves, death or dying, seeking access to firearms or pills, withdrawing from friends, family, and society, having severe mood swings, feeling hopeless or trapped, increased use of alcohol or drugs, sleeping all the time or having issues with sleep, uncontrolled rage or agitation, self-destructive and risky behavior, giving away personal belongings, telling people goodbye for seemingly no reason, people who suffer from a mental illness, alcoholism, or drug abuse, a family history of suicide, history of trauma or abuse, terminal illness, chronic pain, social isolation, or a traumatic life event such as loss of a loved one, loss, period. It could be a loss of an animal or whatever. But maybe an increased risk for suicide. Remember that people at any age can experience suicidal thoughts. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among teenagers, and the highest suicide rate is among middle-aged people. closely followed by those older than 85, according to AFSP. How to help loved ones how to help a loved one you believe is at risk. If you notice a drastic change in someone's behavior that includes warning signs of suicide, don't hesitate or assume someone else will intervene. Taking an active role to check on them could save their life. Even if your instincts are to avoid the person because you're afraid you don't know enough or that you might offend the person, you may be only one who is noticing who will reach out. You see, everyone, says Dr. Mokir, everyone has a role to play in preventing suicide. The best thing you can do is, if you're unsure whether someone is suicidal or is to start an honest, caring conversation with that person and listening than doing more than talking. If you pick up one on signs that they're being trapped, hopeless, or depressed, don't skirt around the topic. You can ask them directly if they're having suicidal thoughts, and it goes on and on. Avoid lecturing these people. Don't judge them. Don't point your finger at them. It'll just make things worse. If anything else, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255 and text talk to 741-741. Talk again, 741-741. You can text talk to that message number and get help. So and there's a lot of help out there available for people, for you, especially if you don't know what you're doing and don't know how to help these people. There's a lot of help out there, and you can call the suicide hotline. There's all kinds of information on the internet, and just understanding. I think if you look at the whole picture of it all, the whole sum of it all, understanding it can prevent suicide on so many levels, so many ways, and so many people. Just a level of understanding, and maybe that's all they need or all they want, and maybe that's all you need to help this person. It's just understanding a level of ideology, a level of lifestyle that's going on. Just understanding one little piece of the puzzle can make a difference in your friend's life, your family's life, someone's life out there. So I'm not saying that this is not serious, and that's not the case at all. It's very serious. My mother almost took her life when I was a kid, when I was growing up, and I'm grateful and thankful she didn't, because that I have my fair share of issues with women, with people, with whatever, but I think that would have made it even worse. So on so many levels. And so I appreciate that she didn't do that. And to me, I'm going to say this. I think, number one, if you commit suicide, that, and it says it somewhere in here, I can't remember where, but anyhow, it says it in here somewhere, that suicide is one of the most troubling ways that a person can die. And it can cause probably the most problems because it's so complex and so difficult for people to understand or deal with or work with. And so if my mother had taken her life, that would have been so traumatic. My brother had just died shortly before that. I believe was it before that? Right around there. My brother had died from a fire, and then I hear this big loud thundering gun go off, a shotgun, boom, and I thought, what the hell was that? And we never talked about it. And see, that's the other thing about about suicide. People don't talk about this. They keep it to themselves. They don't go get help. They don't go work, and they become non-social, and they don't go out and reach out to anybody. And nobody reaches out to them because sometimes, or a lot of times, that people don't see the symptoms coming through. Let me see. Now it does say that a lot of people commit suicide because of mental health issues, and that is true. But that's not necessarily true. Period. In general, I don't know what percentage of the people that are mentally ill commit suicide, but there is. I believe that there's probably a large number of people aren't considered mentally ill. The reasons that people would commit suicide are social isolation, lack of mental health treatment, gun ownership. I don't know. I question that. The biggest way that people do commit suicide is with guns. Now that's the other thing too, is drug and alcohol abuse. A lot of people will increase their drugs and it will increase their intake of drug and alcohol, and that's one of the warning signs that tells you, hey, you need to talk to this person, see what's going on.
Can we take a step back and kind of, so suicide is like if you're talking about a formula, 1 + 1 = 2, suicide is the end equation. But then what are the things that are maybe the causes of
that's what I'm talking about, right?
Person to that.
You know,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Because Penny and I were talking about some things beforehand. Yeah, go ahead, Penny.
No, I was just going to say before the show, Lorae and I.
Penny, I can barely hear you. If you can talk louder, it can be better.
Before the show, Lorae and I were talking about some possible causes from a metaphysical point of view, and also from over-the-counter drugs. And I think it would be interesting to hear that perspective first. Meaning,
yeah, and you guys cut me off. I was just getting ready to go into that, but you guys cut me off. And you're right. Go ahead.
So there is something that I was sharing with Penny. Well, Penny's thought was, and I was saying it in a different way, that I was what I was reading from James Tiburon, and he's saying that maybe on this metaphysical soul point of view, it's that people have this, they don't love themselves, that they have this, where is it?
Well, it's a lot more than just that, because again, we're going into medications, which we're talking about chemical imbalance.
It's calling. Well. Wait, but we're talking. Let's take it to the soul level. He was saying it's self-condemnation, and Penny was talking about this lack of love. We're a society that is material driven, and that we need to have our heart open. So maybe you can explain a little bit better, Penny.
Right.
Your point.
I think what you had mentioned is that there's an influx of very high energy or condensed energy. And my belief is that we don't know how to receive that energy. And if we can't receive it, it causes confliction. And therefore, we put ourselves down for it. The self-hatred coming in, it's about not being able to receive love. You know, everybody talks about you got to love yourself. Do I love myself if I forget to pay a bill or if I'm late for a meeting? No, I don't love myself. However, I can open up to receive divine love. I mean, I'd like to share something. When I was going through divorce, I had 2 children, ages 5 and 9, no career, no college education, and I was devastated. And I did have suicidal ideation. I even fantasized about how I'd do it. At 2 in the morning, I'd speed over 100 miles an hour and go off the edge near a cliff. People would think it was an accident, you know. However, I had the courage to do it, and I knew my kids needed me. So I never really thought of going through with it. However, at the same time, I began taking personal and spiritual development workshops. And in the first parapsychology class, I learned that when we die, it's not over.
Yeah, exactly.
Emotions move on.
Penny, I want to say this because it's very. I wanted to talk about this anyhow, and since you already are talking about it, I recently, about 2 months ago, a friend of mine. Actually, I didn't ever meet her in person, but I talked to her over the phone. We were Facebook friends, and I did an astrology reading for her, and she was doing all this other stuff with Vitamix and selling Vitamix and all this. She was going to these expos and all this stuff. And anyhow, she ended up. I think she had a boyfriend in that process, and I think they broke up. And one of the reasons that people commit suicide is because of breakup in relationships. So anyhow, she ended up actually moving to where I used to live back in Northern California, and she ended up starting I told in that reading that I did for her, I said she does really well with animals because she has a crash in her chart, and if she and so she ended up starting her own kennel rescue for animals business, and about a month ago, actually about 2 months ago almost, she ended up in a head-on collision with some other girl. She was driving in near where I was living at, or used to live at, and she ended up running into somebody else's car. So what was interesting is that I felt her energies. I felt her. I think we were actually soulmates, and still are. But and we, even though we never hooked up, I think we were still soulmates. But anyhow, she ended up going into a head-on collision with somebody else, and I don't think it was an accident. I think she did it on purpose to commit suicide. Because I don't know if she was depressed. I think she was depressed, and I don't know. She just was feeling empty, and I think that's what happens to a lot of these people. They feel empty. And to me, if someone is angry and fighting and they're feisty, they're they're still alive. They're not really thinking about committing suicide. They still have their fire up their butt, and they're still kicking and breathing, and they're still wanting to because they're at least fighting. But when someone gives up and they want to commit suicide, that's the end all. They don't fight, they don't argue, they don't communicate. Like it says in these articles, they stop socializing, they get into mood swings. But I don't think it's even that. I think they just get really depressed, and then at some point they actually do the deed. And to me, I think it's selfish. It's very selfish because, again, they don't see, especially now, if you didn't have those kids, Penny, you might have committed suicide. But, if some of these people, they have kids, they have family, and they leave them behind. To me, it's a selfish act, an incredibly selfish act, and to me, it's bullshit. But that's besides the point. So it's somebody feeling sorry for themselves, and if you're feeling depressed, well, first of all, check your medications. Are you taking medications that are causing you to be depressed? And those are some of the questions people need to ask. Or did you break up with someone? Or I don't know. A lack of socialization. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that people commit suicide. Some of the ways that could cause depression would be high blood pressure pills, steroids. It could be a genetic thing. It could be brain chemistry, right. Chemistry and makeup, medications, stressful events. What's the stress? I think this guy, Anthony, was under a lot of stress. I think I remember seeing it somewhere. He was lonely. He was doing the stuff that he likes to do regularly, and I think he was under a lot of stress. And he finally and because this guy had it made. He's worth millions. He had all kinds of social interaction going on. I mean, this guy had it made, and yet he commits suicide. And I think
that's our it's we can look from the outside and say that he had it made, but again, you don't know what he's actually living. You're not in his shoes. You're not in his psyche. And it could have been depression. He dealt with depression. He had a history of drug abuse, but he had kicked that. I heard that he was really into the martial arts, and this girlfriend that he was dating recently after his divorce was, really beneficial for getting into the martial arts things. But again, if you don't know about the what's going on mentally and all the chemical imbalances that happen that can just tip somebody over the edge. So there's that vibratory soul thing. There's a woman that I read an article, she does numerology, and she said that he had a lot of his numbers were sevens. And he was a very evolved person. He was very, into the social consciousness of helping people, and especially through his programs and his writings. And he went out at a 7, which is he was like in this heightened state. And she said it was like the perfect way for him to go. So who knows? We just don't know. So he's gone. He's up there laughing at us. We're here in turmoil trying to figure all of this out, right? And that's the thing. It's the people who are gone. Their suffering is ended. And I would say somebody who does.
No, it hasn't.
No,
their suffering hasn't ended.
No.
That's at a soul level.
That's what a lot
they're
of
not
people...
They're not in physical form anymore. I'm saying the person who died. Okay, enlighten me.
A lot of people that commit suicide think that by committing suicide, it's going to help everybody, their family and friends.
No, I'm talking about the individual himself. They are no longer suffering. They are no longer embodied. They are no longer in this third dimensional. They're right. That's what I meant.
But that's the cheap way out. That's what I'm saying. That's selfish to not endure that pain and deal with your issues, deal with your responsibilities, and then you leave people behind and you leave them hanging. And you're part of a team, a family called a team, and you leave them behind. You leave them hanging. That's not cool at all. And then on top of that,
is that
when you are reborn into another life, it's going to be even worse because you're going to have to deal with the energy of suicide. You're constantly that next life. You're going to be dealing with suicide, and that's going to be even worse and a lot harder the next lifetime around. So that's bullshit.
Who made you God? Who made you God, Andrew? How do you know?
I am my
How
own
do you
God.
know?
There you go.
And I want to hear what Penny has to say.
Okay, go ahead, Penny.
They know when it's over, okay?
Penny, we have to hear you louder because we can barely hear you.
Okay.
I can hear her.
My understanding from a spiritual perspective is that when we die, whether it's suicide or normal death, we review our lives and still have to go through the school of the soul to learn what we did wrong in each life and how to correct it. And I really mean it, that had I not learned this, that it isn't over when it's over, and we have to learn our lessons. We actually experience the impact of our actions on other people, which can be very painful to us. Furthermore, if we commit suicide, it even makes it worse because we now have to deal with added grief and shame of having left and hurt the loved ones on earth. And they have to deal now with their own shame and guilt, anger and confusion. And the impact on them is immeasurable. And so, and actually when I work with clients who have some spiritual spiritual understanding, I tell them this, that killing yourself is only going to make it worse for you on the other side, because we still have to go through the lessons of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the fear of moving on and things being even worse catapulted me into getting in touch with myself. And
you're right. That could be a good lesson for learning about death in a different perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, it is not over. I mean, I know you believe in reincarnation, but in between the worlds, we still have to learn our lessons. Committing suicide adds that much more to it. Now,
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
You know, but I would like to look at what some of the things that people could do. To me, what causes depression is our negative thoughts, feelings, speech, and actions, because it disconnects us from our higher self, the higher self of love, wisdom, where we have confidence, where we feel whole and secure within ourselves. And what I mean by that is I believe our higher self is hovering over us. A little part of that self is within us. However, whenever there's anything negative, we literally squeeze out that part of ourselves. When I would work with clients, I would ask them to think of an issue. And then I would say, what are you experiencing? And some would say, I feel like I'm getting smaller and smaller. Or else, I feel like I'm moving further and further away. Or else, they would say, I feel like I'm not even here anymore, which means their souls, or part of their souls, have left their bodies. And that's what makes them feel empty, alone, and insecure, and hopeless inside. So what we want to do is learn what creates the disconnection and how we can open up again. And the disconnection happens whenever we think, say, or feel anything negative.
Got it.
From our higher self. Any disempowering questions, unenthusiastic commands, negative thoughts, self-defeating beliefs, repressed feelings, misinformed decisions, inferior superior attitudes, and dysfunctional behavior separate us from ourselves. And if we can learn how to open up again, that's when we feel secure and confident.
So
would you say that we're having a spiritual health crisis?
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Right.
Oh, okay, I hear you. So you're saying that we're people that are committing suicide. People that are committing suicide, they are fragmented, and they have a disconnect with their soul. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I want to come back and talk about this. Before we do that, I want to play a song, and I want to leave you. I want to leave you with this in mind before when we come back that I want to talk about. But one time I was sitting and contemplating in my vehicle. I was just kicking back in Sedona, literally, and literally I heard, and I've had telepathic conversations with people, and they have been confirmed, and to let me know that they were real. And so at one night years ago, I was in Sedona, sitting there contemplating, and all of a sudden I heard this woman, and I knew exactly who she was. This woman that actually goes to Unity Church in Sedona. I think she's a reptilian. She's been there forever and a day, and she's probably still there, and one of the main members, and she gives counsels the members, the board and whatever else to doing different things. But anyhow, this is who I heard talking to me via telepathy in when I was sitting in my vehicle one night. She was literally telling me to kill myself. She was saying something like, Andrew, kill yourself. She just kept repeating that. Andrew, kill yourself. Andrew, kill yourself. And it was really bizarre, and it actually pissed me off more than wanting to make me commit suicide of somebody trying to manipulate me this way. That was not cool at all, and I thought it was just such BS. So anyhow, so I never confronted her about this situation, but because of course she would have denied it and never admitted to any of it. But anyhow, this woman to this day probably attends that church there in Sedona, Unity of Sedona, and I don't know what else she does, but I didn't find her very user friendly at all. So anyhow, we're gonna play this song called Kali Bolo by Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers. I want to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light, love to all those in the phone lines and chat rooms, all our families and friends, to all those who have this desire to want to commit suicide for whatever reason. And there are other more notable reasons for committing suicide that are much more healthier than not. But and we'll talk about this when we get back. But to all our places of residence or our vehicles, to the President of the United States and all his entourage, that dude needs some help. And then, of course, let's send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light and love to all the animals and plants and the minerals and the kids on the planet, especially the ones that need concern. Anybody that you guys want to add to that? Penny?
No, I'm okay.
Lorae?
I guess for all the survivors, and people who are left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. To everyone else in need concern, we will be back. Kali Bolo by Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers.
Jaya Jaya Ma.
And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio and free conference call and YouTube, establishing and maintaining right relationships through Bourbain. Tonight, we're doing the Intimacy, Tantra, and Relationship Psychically Fulfilled show, talking about suicide. Why suicide, Anthony Bourdain? That's the name of tonight's episode. Tonight, we are here with Maha Dakini Lorae, all the way out of San Francisco, and Penny Cohen, licensed certified social worker. And we talked about reasons that people would commit suicide, reasons that Anthony Bourdain, probably lots of stress and depression, would have committed suicide. We've talked about there other factors that I haven't even come across in my research about suicide, of reasons that people would commit suicide. And that's again, I believe it was back in Sedona years ago, a woman who I believe is a reptilian, who kept telling me to commit suicide via telepathy. She kept telling me this over and over one night, and I literally heard her saying this, and I that really just pissed me off like no tomorrow, more than tried to make me commit suicide. So with that in mind, I have talked about this before, where off of Navy ships, they literally send out frequencies to the planet. And ever since they've been doing this, I believe ever since they've been doing this, years and years ago, back in the 80s, I believe they started this, that all of a sudden people started doing road rage. All of a sudden people just were, and literally lately, people have been just beating each other up because of road rage. I think that that some of these frequencies are also causing people to commit suicide as well. You know, and I say to you, next time you think about committing suicide, think about where that energy is coming from. And I've had more than once, and over the past few years, I have these energy of suicidal energies coming through, but not. I look at them and they were not mine. I knew they weren't mine. Yeah, I have a friend. One of the people that I led through the mentoring program. She every time she starts to think about suicide, that energy hits me, and I have to sit down and think, well, where's this coming from? And sure enough, she was depressed a couple of days ago when I was feeling that energy. Or it could be coming from the CIA, somebody or some other agency that's trying to get you to kill yourself. I don't know. You have to really think about where that energy is coming from, and because I'm not prone to that, because I know that if I commit suicide next lifetime around, and I have in one or two other lifetimes, I can't remember when and how many times, but I committed suicide. I've had to deal with that energy. And now when I deal with it, I have to think about where it's coming from. And a lot of times, most of the time, when I look at it, it's not coming from me. It's coming from the CIA or somebody trying to get me to commit suicide. So next time you're thinking about suicide, think about where it's coming from. And people that maybe like this Anthony Bourdain guy, he was heavily into drugs, heroin. Alcohol, all kinds of stuff, which have made him a weak-minded person and susceptible to suicidal thoughts very easily. And it wouldn't take nothing but somebody trying to influence him through telepathy that it would have made him commit suicide. I don't know if that's the case with him at all, but that could even be a possibility. It's undetermined, and we may never know. But right now, so some of the biggest things that are hitting is lots of stress and depression, and then like you said earlier, Lorae, Maha Dakini Lorae, she had some kind of conflict with her with his ex-wife or something. Is that what you said?
Who, Anthony Bourdain?
Yes.
No, he had been divorced, I think, in 2016 or something, and he had a child who he was really that was like he was devoted to. And what I was reading about his life is that when he, would be at home, no TV. I mean, there was, he would spend time with her. He wasn't going on the internet. He wasn't doing, everything was about her and to have quality time with her. And I believe the divorce had been amicable, but he had this new girlfriend. And, since you're getting into the conspiracy stuff, other things that I've been reading is that, his girlfriend was one of the women that had initially filed suit against Harvey Weinstein, that she had been abused by him. She was Italian. Her family was in the motion picture business. I think her father was a producer and director or something, and then she was an actress. But she had been molested by him and had started this suit. And then he was standing up for her. And then all of some of these other things that I'm reading is that they don't believe that he killed himself, that because, he was maybe going to spill the beans about something or other. He knew something on Clinton, and all this stuff is always about Clinton. It's always about the Clintons, And Kate Spade was on the Clinton Foundation for Haiti, and they think that she was killed also. So, like I said, I don't even want to go there because there's no proof, and there's all of these things that people say. So, again, even what you're talking about, is there real documentation? I mean, I can believe that there's stuff going on with the government that we're being test subjects to, and later on we find out about, that we're guinea pigs for certain things. but it doesn't come out until years later. So there is possibility that maybe there is this new technology coming out that is sending certain frequencies, and we are vibrational beings. We are, our brains are creating electrical activity, and can something come in to affect us on that level that can cause us to create the chemical imbalances that might cause depression, that could lead to suicide? Possibly. Any thoughts, Kennedy, on your end?
I'm proof that can't exist, because literally I have to leave my apartment every once in a while because they do that. When I first moved into this apartment, for about the first month or two, everything seemed peaceful, and it's always that way. Every time I move to a new place, it's always that way. Everything seems peaceful, and then they have these beams that they can beam. I think they can direct them like specifically to individuals or in general. But again, these beams that come from Navy ships have been known to cause road rage and all kinds of stuff. And I think they finally figured out the frequency that causes people to commit suicide. I think that's a good possibility. And so not only that, but implants. There are people have implants. A lot of people that get abducted by aliens and UFOs and so forth, they get implants. And I believe that some of those people can be caused to commit suicide because of those implants. And that could be coupled with the frequencies from the Navy ships that could cause people to commit suicide. I think that's a possibility. I mean, there's so many factors to consider, not just substance abuse and not just depression. The depression is the side effects to these beams or somebody trying to telepathically influence you to commit suicide. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities out there beyond what the mainstream media is coming out with, and all this information that I've got that I research is from the internet, and it's all mainstream media, but they don't tap into the even more profound or what's the word? They detailed information about some of the stuff, some of the behind the scenes stuff that they're doing these days to help you commit suicide. And it could have been that they could have been beaming Anthony Bourdain with this frequency, and that could have made, and because of the drug, the drugs when he was younger, that could make him more susceptible to these beams of light and or beams of whatever they're doing, and that could have made him more susceptible, and just out of the blue, because it says a lot of most of the time when somebody commits suicide, it's spontaneous, it's out of the blue, they just do it, and with something like that in mind, he could have been easily influenced into committing suicide from some of this technology, whatever it is that they're doing. And I can't say, I've seen on the internet, on YouTube, some places where you can find some of this information, and it's out there. But I'd have to research it out, but like that. So anything else you have to say about why people commit suicide and how people commit suicide, Penny? Anything else?
Well, first I'd like to address something you said about all the energy, about picking up other people's energy. I don't know much about the conspiracy theory. However, my understanding spiritually is like energy attracts like energy. And so if we're feeling depleted at all, then the energy will affect us.
Oh, that's a good point, that it could be congruent with being detached or disconnected from your soul. That could be part of that.
Exactly. And so it still goes back to that. Even astrologically, Abraham, the prophet in the Bible, was told not to become too attached to his astrology, because if we're in the right state of mind, heart, and conversation, can overcome the influence of planetary movement. The same thing goes with what you're saying. If we're strong inside, if we're connected to spirit, we won't pick up these negative energies. Now, that being said, I mean, there are ways we can help ourselves.
Exactly.
We can commit to take care of ourselves through good nutrition, exercise, meditating. We can seek help. The problem with that is that most people feel it's a stigma if you go to therapy.
Right.
One of the things I found is we're not taught how to feel and free deep feelings that disconnect us from source. And that's what we have to learn to do. Ideally, if you go to a therapist, although not that many therapists even know how to connect you with core feelings, okay? They talk about emotions such as anger, depression, frustrated, afraid, abandoned. I make the distinction between emotions and core feelings. The words I just used, even depressed, angered, frustrated, are emotions. They're acting out of deeper feelings that we're not allowing ourselves to feel. And if we could feel the energy of it, we can learn what's creating it and transform those feelings to love. So we
Exactly.
learn the distinction between feelings and emotions. Most people think they're feelings rather than feel them. We want to reach for spirit and ask for guidance, courage, and strength.
Exactly.
We want to learn how to forgive ourselves and open our hearts so we never feel alone. And the last, and to me the most important part, as Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and author of A Man's Search for Meaning, suggested, humans must have meaning before they have a will to live.
Exactly, right?
He also said life is found in every moment of living, even in deep suffering. And so what we need to do is figure out how to make meaning with whatever it is. He did it in the concentration camps of living to see his wife again and then writing about his experiences. So ideally, we want to search for meaning and purpose in everyday transactions as well as for greater causes. And that's
So
how we can transform trauma into triumph.
Exactly, right? So what I want to do, I want to bring in, one of the callers has a question. Area code 780, Aloha, you're on the air.
Hey, Andrew, aloha. It's Jay calling from Canada.
Jay, hey, what's up? So what, do you have a question for us?
Yes, I just wondered, I'm going through some grief right now. My mother passed away in April, and just wonder what you can do to help with grief.
Grief, okay. Okay, so
Grief.
Again, grief is tied to depression. And what I'm going to say is kind of reiterate what Penny just said. First of all, a lot of depression, which can, and grief, there's a process of grief. What are the 5 processes of grief, Penny?
Well, the stages of the loss of a loved one is first shock, denial, anger or depression, acceptance, and finally moving on. That being said, to me, true grief is trying to resolve the unfinished business with the person you're dealing with. That's one thing. But there's another thing in that very often when a person close to us passes on, our soul goes with them, and we feel totally depleted. For instance, I had a client who I hadn't seen for about 10 years, and I got a phone call from her saying that her mother died 3 months earlier. She was her best friend, and she isn't functioning. And so she came in, and as she was talking, she said she was feeling so empty. And I said to her, I have a hunch your soul went with your body. And we worked on doing the meditation to relax and literally bring the energy from our higher self back into our bodies. We can stay connected through love as opposed to the loss. And we worked on bringing her soul back into her body. She said she felt much calmer and much more whole. And then she went home, and her fiancé said to her, what the hell happened to you? I look like I've got my girl back. You're beautiful again.
Right? So with that in mind, Jay, first of all, I believe that Penny hit some of this on the head. First of all, and then Edgar Casey talked about this. Some of the stuff, the depression that can come through, it will be due to foods that you eat that are toxic. So you're going to want to eat foods that are high alkaline. Stay away from the meats, the beef, the pork, coffee, the tea, and eat foods, kale, salads, avocado, celery, cabbage. Anything that makes your body highly alkaline will help with the process. And again, there are different stages that you go through, and you could probably look it up on the internet and find those stages. I think Penny's right. There's 5 different stages. When you get to anger, you're finally making some progress. That's like right before you're getting ready to finally accept and then move on. Does that make sense to you, Jay?
I don't know how long it's going to take me over. Well, it's hard to say, but I'm in an anger stage and all over the place for emotions. So, but I'm actually eating pretty good. But drinking lots of water. I think I do the exercise now to make it happen a little bit more. But it is a process. Every person I talk to about this it's a process. So.
And you know what that brings me to the point that I believe suicide is a form of grieving process as well. I don't think I ran across that anywhere, but I think it's actually a form of a grieving process with the depression going on. Now, some of the things that Edgar Casey mentioned, which are I think we're right on target with what I understand, is doing service, being of service, going to feed the homeless, or going to read to kids, or something that's of benefit to someone, or the animal kingdom, or plant kingdom, or the human kingdom, or the angel kingdom, or the planet kingdom. But being of service, going out and doing something that's productive, creative, and of service will be helpful. And doing that regularly until the pain goes away. Are you in a lot of pain still now, Jay?
Oh yeah, it's for sure. I mean, still going through the
Exactly. And again, that pain will be there, but you can't ignore it. You're going to want to face it. You're going to want to take responsibility for it. And then the other thing too is you can write your mother a letter and telling her everything. Hey Mom, I love you. I'm glad you're no longer in pain. Blah 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 blah. And then take that letter and burn it and let it go and let her go. And that's what we're talking about. Is the disconnecting or surrendering and letting go of your mother. And then now the other thing that is helpful, and Edgar Casey, this is some of the stuff that I teach in the mentoring program that I do, is the 5 spiritual practices: meditation, listening to God, Goddess, praying, talking to God, Goddess, and then being of service, doing some kind of service project every day if you can, reading spiritual inspirational works, and listening to inspirational spiritual music, or doing affirmations or stuff like that. Just being engaged in understanding your own process and being your own self and finding and being with your higher self. Does that make sense to you, Jay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Penny, Maha Dakini Lorae, anything else you want to tell Jay about? If anything else,
the only thing
go ahead.
is if there's still a lot of grief, you may want to seek help on it.
Exactly. That's another bit. Now, if anything else, Jay, you can go and get my book, the book I wrote about 3 years ago, 90-Day Ascension Journey, on Kindle for 99 cents, and read that. And there's some tools in there that you can use to help you process all this stuff. And it's a process, and it's more than likely it's not gonna take place overnight. You're not gonna overcome all this in 1 week or one month even.
Yeah.
It's a long process, and it'll take time. And the whole idea is to really deal with that pain, and it's a lot of pain, and your soul never gives you more than you can handle. So this is something that you should be able to handle regardless of what's going on. That makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does.
Maha Dakini Lorae, anything?
Well, I wanted to ask Jay, what was your relationship like with your mother?
I mean, it was okay. We didn't talk that much, so yeah, I think I'm just I don't know. I'm just trying to figure all this stuff out.
And what Penny said earlier, love. See, that's the crux of it all. If you don't have that love coming into your life, if you're not experiencing that love regularly every day, then that's the key. That's what's key about all this is connecting with that love and doing whatever it takes for that to happen. Going to church, talking to somebody, seeing a therapist, whatever it takes. Walking, hiking in the woods, exercising, eating foods that will help enhance the love in your life. Anything that will help you connect with love, that love energy. That's what will help you overcome all of this. Period. Does that make sense to you, Jay?
Yeah, it does. I mean, right now I'm just still in the angry thing, upside down roller coaster stage.
Okay, good. So that's good. That means I believe that means that you're progressing. You're getting through the steps, and again, that you could even fall back a couple of steps and then progress again. I mean, it works differently for everyone. I'm pretty sure. And so and just going and screaming into a pillow could be helpful, or just working out and again writing the letter to your mother could be very useful and helpful and instrumental for all that process to take place. So it's like that.
Can I elaborate on that? So in writing the letter, instead of writing it from, well, maybe shifting perspective, you can be Jay in this life, and you can energetically and emotionally kind of feel how your relationship was to your mother and who she was as this person, and then elevate it and see if you can connect to your higher self, that part that Penny was talking about earlier, and have a conversation from that perspective, your higher self communicating to your mother's higher self, or write your letter from the higher self to her, because it changes the vibration and the frequency, and it takes the ego out of it. It takes that pain and suffering. It takes that humanness out of it, and you might be surprised at the kind of exchange you might have, or what you might want to say from a soul level. Again, the thought is, we came here, we picked our parents, we picked our families, we picked our bodies, and so she provided a lesson for you. So if you're taking yourself out of this material 3D / going to 5D dimensional space into a higher realm, and talking to her from the soul perspective and honoring her from that, and being and speaking your truth, what were the lessons? What did you gain from a bigger this elevated heightened awareness that you might have, and thanking her for whatever, your suffering, your happiness, her birthing you, whatever it is, and having a conversation with her on that, and allowing her to move on. Because sometimes people hang on, when we're attached to family members who die, they don't get a chance to evolve. They're stuck here because we keep them stuck here. So if you can think of sending her off into the light, or being taken up into heaven by the angels or whatever, so that she can do her transition, and then she can look at all of her lessons and things, and then she can come back another time.
So we're short on time now, Maha Dakini Lorae, and you're absolutely correct, Maha Dakini Lorae. Once you write that letter, you offer it up to the universe in blessing. The universe, I offer this letter up to you and blessing. Thank you very much, amen. And then you burn it and let it go, and go from there. So, but we only got a few minutes left. What I want to do, I think maybe this might be helpful for you, Jay, is I want to do a karma, corgentizing, pain clearing. Basically, are you okay with that?
What's this?
I want to do a karma, corgentize, and clearing of pain. Are you okay with that?
No. What I'll do is I'll wait. I'll go through the.
You wait. Okay.
I'll wait. Yeah, but thanks for offering. I'll consider it in the future though, because I just want to just feel the pain basically. I've got to experience it. Unfortunately, that's
okay. That's fine.
It's a great process,
it's helpful,
right.
And just to work with your diet, work with some exercise, change what you're doing. If you're just hanging around at home, moping around at home, go out and to the movies, go out and listen to some music, go out and, to our art gallery. Just go out and do something different every week that will help shift that pain around into something more transformative and more clear, and help you understand what's going on. Does that make sense? And death, it really is a good teacher. I believe you me, I respect death immensely, and because death is such an amazing teacher, and it's really helpful to try to go with the flow. And if you take anything from tonight, go with the flow. It's probably one of the biggest things you'll want to do. Just accept it, move on with whatever's going on in your life. Does that make sense? I think your mother would have wanted that for you to begin with. Anything else, Penny?
No, that's it. Thanks for listening, and thanks so much for the conversation and wisdom shared.
Well, good luck and God bless for that, Jay. Aloha.
Okay. Aloha.
So anything else that we haven't talked about? Again, and even Edgar Casey says this, doing something of service is one of the biggest things that can help overcome suicide, overcome depression, overcome death. Just something that brings light back into your life, into your soul, into your heart, into your body, into your breath, into your beingness. Just bringing that light back into your self through love is one of the biggest healing devices, therapies that you can do out there, period. And again, if you think, go ahead.
The only thing I would like to add, Andrew, is for caretakers or friends of people who think somebody's going through hard times. Don't give them advice. Ask them how they're doing. Let them know you care. And if you love someone, hug them right now and stay with them.
And if you're doing the alcohol and the drugs heavily, you're going to want to think twice about whether you want to continue that direction or not. And we forgot to say there are times when suicide is actually probably beneficial and useful. I don't know 100% that it is in this way, but through assisted suicides, when people are in great pain, they have diseases and stuff that they can't stand it anymore, and they get assisted to commit suicide so they can move on because it's just too much for them. And also in honor, the Japanese. Tell us about this now again, Lorae.
Well, the Japanese. I mean, that was big time going on in World War II. That I don't know if it's called harakiri or harakiri or something like that, but they would disembowel themselves, and it was a form of saving faith, and it was a form of honor to die by self-infliction when they had disgraced themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They were saving their family and their friends, and they were saving their country from being devalued, and so they would commit suicide in their
right. So their view of taking their life is very different than ours. It was a form of honor, and it's just interesting how other cultures approach suicide.
Now, if you're listening to this now and you're in the United States, it's probably not a form of honor. So don't do it, all right? Because again, it's going to be harder next time around. You're a whole lot more harder to live in that lifetime. The next lifetime around, it's going to be a whole lot harder. And I guarantee you don't want that pain. It's tremendous pain. So anyhow, I do want to thank all of you. Thanks for coming on, Jay, and Penny and Lorae, Maha Dakini Lorae. I thank all of you for stopping by. All of you. Today's Sunday, huh? Man, this life is just going by. Have a God-guided week. Be the love that you are. Always have been and always will be. Aloha.